debate or decision, and the city manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for an investigation and report.
Let's note that Mr. Weaver's left the dais. Herbert Milano, he's also left. Escott Norton, followed by Dr. Clyde Williams.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero and City Council and staff. My name is Escott Norton. I live at 3310 Buckingham Road. As some of you may know, I've read in the Glendale News Press, I'm contesting an absurd water bill totaling $5,474.41. That's more than 45 times my previous highest bill. This is a chart generated by the GWP site. GWP claims that I used more than 1.5 million gallons of water in 2 months, or 24,006 gallons per day. They base this ludicrous claim on the numbers on a meter and nothing else. I would need to fill 2 12-foot diameter swimming pools, or 6 4,000-gallon tanker trucks each day for 64 days to use this much water. Using my 2 hoses at the street side of the house, at 10 gallons per minute, it would take 20 hours to fill those trucks. Don't you think someone would have noticed? Like one of the 10 inspectors that had visited the site during the same period, during construction of the house? I spoke last night at the GWP Commission and was disturbed by a few things said by Mr. Steiger in response to my presentation. He did not deny any of my figures, but revealed that more tests had been conducted on the meter, but the results were never shown to me. Why not release these results? Were they done properly and witnessed by a neutral party, or just done by the watchful eyes of the same department who stands to gain from finding no problem with the meter? Last night, Mr. Steiger mentioned that they were not required to give me additional results. Why? Shouldn't the burden of proof be on them? At another point, Mr. Steiger suggestively stated, "I can't describe everything." This is a quote. "I can't describe everything. There are privacy laws that restrict what I can say here." If there is something that has an impact on me getting charged for water I did not use, I think I have the right to know what it is. Then I realized what it could be. During the construction of my home, I had a first conflict with GWP. I misunderstood an instruction by my electrical inspector and bypassed the temp meter, resulting in my getting some power for free. When this was discovered by a GWP crew, I made no attempt to hide it because I didn't know that I had done anything wrong. When I got a letter from GWP accusing me of committing a felony and charging me a penalty, I looked into the situation, found out I was wrong, apologized, and paid the penalty. I was assumed to be a criminal from the outset, and even after admitting my mistake, they continued to treat me with mistrust and contempt. I was forced to pay in cash, in person, even though I'd been a good customer, GWP customer, for years. And when I complained that I was being charged estimated stolen power for the entire 2 years of construction, even though I presented evidence that the power had only been diverted for 2 months, I was told not to push back because they were doing me a favor by not filing criminal charges. This thinly veiled threat is pretty close to the definition of extortion according to the Hobbs Act. I paid the $1,100, yet it seems that my reputation with GWP is still tainted. Mr. Steiger continued by stating, "Let me say right up front, Mr. Norton, that you do have the right to formally appeal this commission. When I talked to the senior assistant city attorney today, turns out he was wrong. There is no appeal process for water disputes. So it seems that GWP can charge whatever they want, make up any number, not have to prove it, and I have no recourse. This is more like dealing with organized crime than a government agency. No wonder people are scared to stand up to the GWP." This is the main issue, in my opinion. There is no transparency in the GWP. They don't seem to think they need to present corroborating evidence or even interview neighbors to find a single witness to the river of water flowing from my property or the 384 tanker trucks that backed up to my home every day for 2 months. From what I learned, the only way the water is calculated is by the little meters at the user end. There's no redundancy here. If a meter goes wrong or is tampered with by a homeowner or a corrupt city worker, there's no way of cross-checking. If there was a meter that counted usage for a whole neighborhood, you could compare the water going in and the water flowing out. If there was this backup way of accounting for water usage, and they could show a 1.5 million gallon spike occurred in my neighborhood, that would be better than relying on one little gauge. I've spent my life developing a reputation as an honest, hardworking guy. I do not waste resources. Ask my family, friends, neighbors, subcontractors. I can be a pain in the butt sometimes because I do not like to waste energy or materials. This is why this accusation is so personally insulting. I've spent the last 8 years developing good relationships with many within the city of Glendale, and consider some of them my friends. I am not mad at the city, just frustrated with the insulting and libelous treatment I have received from GWP. Why is a little gauge on a meter given more credence than my word and reputation and the word of my neighbors and logic itself? The GWP is spending millions on upgrading a smart grid and installing smart meters. I wish I had one of those. Maybe they need to take a look in the mirror and see and think about who they work for and how they treat their customers. 2 sentences. If the GWP would simply acknowledge the error, reduce the bill to the next highest amount, and credit me the money I have already paid, almost $3,000, towards this bill, towards future bills, I would be satisfied and would have no reason to pursue any further action. Thank you for your time. I have copies, council members, of what I just said and my GWP speech, as well as my dispute and their response to my dispute. I did file a formal dispute. Also, all of the articles that have been written are copied in there. A letter to the editor from a neighbor, and a letter that my father, who came in from out of town to support me, they're also in that package.
Okay, Mr. Norton, we don't debate, etc., but we will respond at the end of oral communication. So
thank you.
A few speaker cards, but we can respond in a few minutes.